Imagine a world where every thought that comes into your mind is immediately spoken aloud. Every doubt, every fear, every fleeting frustration, chaos, right, yet many of us unconsciously operate this way. Today, I want to challenge that instinct. I want to invite you to explore the transformative power of keeping things to yourself. The first step is understanding the power of silence. Silence is not emptiness, it is presence. When we pause before speaking, we give ourselves the chance to evaluate, to choose words that carry weight instead of noise. Silence allows ideas to settle, emotions to calm, and priorities to become clear. It is a simple yet profound act of self-mastery. Next comes self-awareness and emotional intelligence. To master discretion, we must understand ourselves. What makes us reactive? What is truly worth sharing? By observing our thoughts and emotions without the need to broadcast them, we gain control over our internal world. Control over what we say is control over how we impact the world. This brings us to relationships and leadership. Not every observation, critique, or opinion is necessary to share. When we speak with intention, we earn respect. People notice the ones who listen more than they speak, who reflect more than they react. Leaders who master this art are trusted not because they are silent, but because they are deliberate in communication. Consider the long-term benefits. Practicing discretion protects you from unnecessary conflict. It preserves your credibility. It gives you space to reflect, to grow, and to respond thoughtfully. By keeping certain things to yourself, you are not building walls, you are building wisdom. Mastering this art is not about secrecy, it is about discernment. It is about choosing when your voice adds value and when your silence strengthens character. In a world that celebrates constant expression, learning the power of restraint might just be the most radical and transformative skill you can develop. Silence is one of the most underrated tools in human interaction. While speaking and expressing oneself are often celebrated as signs of confidence and intelligence, silence carries its own form of strength, an almost invisible power that shapes thought, perception, and outcomes. When we remain silent strategically, we allow our mind to process information more clearly. Words, spoken impulsively, can cloud judgment or create misunderstandings. By pausing, by choosing not to respond immediately, we give our cognitive faculties a moment to organize complex emotions and thoughts. This is not about withholding information out of fear or avoidance. It is about consciously creating space to think, reflect, and respond with clarity. Silence, therefore, becomes a tool of precision, allowing us to articulate ideas with purpose rather than react with impulsivity. Practicing silence encourages deeper listening, which is often the foundation of effective communication. When we are not preoccupied with formulating a response, we are free to truly hear what others are saying. This active listening does more than gather information. It builds empathy, understanding, and stronger interpersonal connections. In professional settings, individuals who master silence are often perceived as thoughtful and discerning. Their measured contributions carry weight because others know that when they speak, it is intentional and considered. Silence in conversation signals confidence and self-control. It conveys that one does not need to fill every gap with words to assert presence or influence. Silence also provides a space for internal reflection, which enhances self-awareness. By resisting the urge to vocalize every thought, we gain the ability to observe our emotions and reactions objectively. For instance, when a situation triggers frustration or anger, immediately expressing those emotions can escalate conflicts or damage relationships. Choosing silence instead allows us to analyze why we feel a certain way, to consider the potential impact of our words, and to respond thoughtfully rather than react impulsively. In this sense, silence is not passive. It is an active exercise of emotional intelligence. It transforms moments of tension into opportunities for measured, deliberate action. Silence can serve as a subtle form of influence. In social dynamics, the absence of words can speak volumes. When someone pauses before responding or refrains from immediate commentary, It can prompt others to reflect, reconsider, or even provide additional insight. This silent influence often proves more powerful than constant verbal engagement because it demonstrates composure, patience, and confidence. People naturally gravitate toward those who are measured in their communication, recognizing that such individuals think deeply before speaking. In this way, silence becomes a form of authority that is quiet but undeniably present. Another dimension of silence is its role in fostering creativity and problem solving. In a world dominated by constant communication, the mind rarely gets the uninterrupted space it needs to generate innovative ideas. When we embrace silence, we allow ourselves to engage in deep thinking without distraction. Our subconscious can process information, draw connections, and uncover insights that might otherwise remain hidden amidst noise. The act of keeping certain thoughts to oneself is, in effect, a way of protecting the creative process. It creates a mental environment where ideas can mature before being shared, ensuring that when they are eventually expressed, they carry clarity, originality, and impact. Silence also teaches restraint, which is an essential life skill. By choosing not to speak impulsively, we develop discipline in communication that extends beyond specific interactions. This discipline helps in maintaining professional decorum, managing personal relationships, and navigating complex social situations. It instills patience and fosters a habit of evaluation before expression. Over time, this habit becomes second nature, allowing individuals to engage with the world thoughtfully rather than reactively. Silence, therefore, is a practice of self-mastery that strengthens character and enhances credibility. Silence can act as a shield. In times of uncertainty, when information is incomplete or emotions are volatile, refraining from immediate commentary protects us from missteps. It prevents regret, preserves relationships, and safeguards our reputation. The ability to remain silent in challenging moments demonstrates maturity, foresight, and the capacity to prioritize long-term outcomes over short-term impulses. In essence, silence is a conscious choice to value discernment over expression, reflection over reaction, and understanding over immediacy. Self-awareness is the cornerstone of mastering discretion and understanding the value of keeping certain thoughts to oneself. It begins with an honest observation of one's own mind, emotions, and habitual reactions. When we are self-aware, we recognize not only what we feel, but why we feel it. This understanding allows us to differentiate between fleeting impulses and deeply held beliefs. For instance, when frustration arises in a conversation, a self-aware individual can identify whether the irritation is triggered by the other person's words or by internal stress and biases. By observing the source of these emotions, we gain the power to decide whether expressing them is constructive or detrimental. Self-awareness is, therefore, the first step toward choosing discretion consciously rather than reacting impulsively to every stimulus. Emotional intelligence complements self-awareness by enabling us to regulate and manage our emotions effectively. It is not enough to recognize how we feel. We must also understand how those feelings influence our decisions, our communication, and our relationships. Emotional intelligence allows us to respond to challenging situations with clarity and composure rather than with instinctive reaction. When we possess this skill, we are able to maintain balance even in emotionally charged environments. By exercising restraint and keeping certain thoughts private, we avoid unnecessary conflict and protect the integrity of our interactions. Emotional intelligence transforms the act of keeping things to oneself from mere silence into a deliberate, thoughtful choice. Another aspect of self-awareness and emotional intelligence is understanding the social and situational context before speaking. Words have consequences, and even well-intentioned comments can create misunderstandings if expressed at the wrong time or in the wrong tone. Self-aware individuals are attuned not only to their own emotions, but also to the emotions of those around them. They notice cues such as body language, tone, and mood, which inform whether sharing a particular thought will add value or cause disruption. This level of awareness allows for a more strategic approach to communication. By keeping certain insights or opinions private, we demonstrate empathy and respect for the perspectives of others, which strengthens trust and rapport. Practicing self-awareness also involves recognizing our biases and tendencies. Each person carries assumptions, preferences, and triggers that shape how they interpret the world. Without awareness, these internal filters can lead to impulsive expressions that may harm relationships or compromise judgment. By cultivating an understanding of these personal patterns, we gain the ability to pause, evaluate, and choose whether to vocalize thoughts. This reflection not only prevents potential missteps, but also promotes personal growth. Over time, the practice of observing oneself without immediate reaction develops emotional resilience, enabling individuals to navigate complex interpersonal dynamics with confidence. Emotional intelligence extends further into the realm of conflict resolution. When disagreements arise, the instinct to react defensively or assertively can escalate tensions. A self-aware and emotionally intelligent individual, however, recognizes the impact of words before speaking. By keeping certain thoughts private or framing responses thoughtfully, they manage conflicts constructively. Silence in such moments is not avoidance. It is a conscious strategy to allow emotions to settle, perspectives to align, and solutions to emerge. In essence, discretion guided by self-awareness transforms potential friction into opportunities for collaboration and understanding. Self-awareness also enhances decision-making. Every time we choose to share or withhold information, we are making a judgment about value, timing, and consequence. By reflecting on our internal motivations, we ensure that our communication aligns with our goals and principles rather than temporary impulses. This alignment between intention and action fosters consistency, credibility, and trustworthiness. People naturally gravitate toward those who act with thoughtfulness and self-possession, recognizing that such individuals communicate not just to fill silence, but to make an impact. The development of self-awareness and emotional intelligence nurtures a deeper sense of personal responsibility. By acknowledging that our words can influence outcomes, we embrace the responsibility to communicate wisely. Keeping certain thoughts to ourselves is not an act of concealment, but an exercise in accountability. It signals maturity, discipline, and respect for both oneself and others. Over time, these practices reinforce habits that improve both personal and professional life, ensuring that speech is measured, meaningful, and purposeful. Mastering the art of keeping certain things to yourself has a profound impact on both personal relationships and leadership effectiveness. In relationships, whether personal or professional, the timing, content, and tone of communication often determine whether interactions build trust or create tension. When individuals exercise discretion, they are able to choose carefully what to share, ensuring that their words contribute positively rather than detract from understanding or connection. Not every thought, opinion, or observation adds value to a conversation. Some may provoke unnecessary conflict, generate misunderstanding, or even harm the relationship over time. By practicing intentional restraint, individuals demonstrate respect for others' perspectives and create a foundation for mutual trust, which is the bedrock of strong relationships. Silence and discretion also serve as tools for enhancing emotional intimacy. In personal relationships, people often feel safe and valued when they sense that their confidences are respected, and that not every opinion will be broadcast or judged impulsively. When one learns to hold back commentary until it is truly necessary, they communicate a subtle but powerful message that the relationship is prioritized over the need to be heard. This careful balance strengthens bonds, encourages openness, and fosters an environment where meaningful dialogue can occur. In contrast, indiscriminate sharing of thoughts or emotions, especially negative or impulsive ones, can erode trust, making others cautious and less willing to engage deeply. In leadership contexts, the ability to exercise discretion is equally critical. Leaders are constantly observed, and their words carry amplified weight due to their position of influence. Speaking without careful consideration can lead to misunderstandings, misalignment, or diminished credibility. Conversely, leaders who choose when and how to share their thoughts are seen as deliberate, composed, and reliable. This measured communication fosters respect among team members, enhances morale, and builds a culture of thoughtful interaction. A leader who masters the art of keeping certain insights private demonstrates that their contributions are intentional and purposeful, not reactive or performative. This inspires confidence and reinforces their authority without relying on dominance or verbosity. Discretion in communication also empowers leaders to observe and understand dynamics more accurately. When a leader does not feel compelled to respond immediately or to voice every thought, they can dedicate attention to listening, analyzing, and interpreting the needs, concerns, and motivations of their team. This observant approach allows for more informed decision making, better conflict resolution, and more effective guidance. Leaders who communicate strategically are often better equipped to anticipate challenges and align actions with long-term objectives rather than short-term impulses. Silence, in this sense, becomes a tool of situational intelligence, allowing the leader to respond with insight rather than reaction. The practice of restraint also strengthens credibility. When individuals consistently speak only when their words have value, others learn to pay attention and attach significance to what is said. In both personal and professional spheres, credibility is a form of currency. Words lose value when overused or carelessly expressed. By keeping certain things to oneself, a person cultivates a reputation for thoughtful, intentional communication. This credibility builds influence not through assertiveness or volume, but through the recognition that every contribution is meaningful and considered. Over time, this ability to discern when to speak and when to remain silent can transform ordinary interactions into impactful, memorable moments. Discretion helps in managing conflict effectively. Relationships and teams inevitably face disagreements, but those who have mastered restraint can navigate tensions without escalating situations. Choosing not to voice every criticism or objection immediately allows space for reflection, calm, and perspective. It provides an opportunity to assess whether expressing a concern will resolve an issue constructively or simply inflame emotions. This capacity to moderate speech fosters a sense of stability and fairness, both in personal interactions and in leadership roles. Others come to rely on these individuals for balanced judgment and measured responses, which further strengthens influence and trust. Exercising discretion reinforces emotional maturity and integrity in relationships and leadership. It demonstrates that the individual values long-term harmony, mutual respect, and strategic influence over immediate gratification. By keeping certain thoughts private, a person communicates self-control, thoughtfulness, and a commitment to outcomes rather than impulsive expression. This approach cultivates deeper connections, stronger teams, and more effective guidance. It is through the disciplined choice of when to speak and when to remain silent that individuals, whether in personal or leadership roles, achieve lasting impact and meaningful influence. Mastering the art of keeping things to yourself yields significant long-term benefits that extend across personal, professional, and emotional dimensions. One of the most immediate advantages is the preservation of mental clarity. When we refrain from expressing every fleeting thought or emotion, we create space for reflection and deeper understanding. Constant verbalization can fragment attention and leave us reacting to impulses rather than engaging in deliberate thought. By consciously choosing when to speak, we cultivate a habit of thoughtful reflection, allowing us to process experiences, analyze outcomes, and make decisions with greater precision. This mental discipline not only improves problem-solving skills, but also enhances the ability to prioritize what truly matters. Another long-term benefit is the protection and enhancement of personal integrity. Words carry weight, and once spoken, they cannot be retracted. Impulsive speech often leads to misunderstandings, broken trust, or unintended offense. By exercising restraint, we reduce the risk of such consequences and maintain a consistent, trustworthy persona. Over time, individuals who practice discretion are perceived as reliable, composed, and principled. Others learn to value their judgment and insight because their communication is consistently measured and purposeful. This reputation becomes a form of social and professional capital, creating opportunities for influence, collaboration, and leadership that would be difficult to achieve otherwise. Discretion also contributes to the development of emotional resilience. Life inevitably presents challenges, conflicts, and high-pressure situations. Those who have cultivated the habit of keeping certain things private are better equipped to navigate these moments without escalating tension or reacting impulsively. This emotional self-control allows for calm deliberation and the ability to respond constructively rather than defensively. In the long term, individuals who master this skill experience less regret, fewer interpersonal conflicts, and a greater sense of agency over their actions. The consistent practice of discretion reinforces confidence in decision-making and nurtures a resilient mindset capable of withstanding stress and uncertainty. In addition, mastering the art of keeping things to yourself fosters stronger, more meaningful relationships over time. When communication is intentional rather than impulsive, it builds trust and respect. People feel valued when they know that conversations are not dominated by thoughtless remarks or unnecessary critiques. They recognize that discretion reflects both consideration for others and an understanding of the impact of words. Relationships cultivated in this manner are more likely to endure challenges and grow deeper over time, creating a network of connections based on mutual respect, reliability, and thoughtful engagement. Long-term benefits also extend to personal growth and self-mastery. The ability to discern when to speak and when to remain silent is an exercise in self-discipline. It requires continuous self-reflection, emotional regulation, and awareness of social context. By repeatedly practicing restraint, individuals develop stronger control over impulses and a heightened understanding of themselves and others. This self-mastery becomes a lifelong skill that enhances both personal fulfillment and professional effectiveness. Those who refine this skill over years often find that their judgments are more accurate, their communication more impactful, and their influence more respected. Another significant long-term benefit is improved decision-making. Keeping certain thoughts to oneself allows ideas and insights to mature before they are acted upon or shared. Impulsive verbalization often leads to hasty decisions or misunderstandings, whereas measured silence provides the time necessary to evaluate options, anticipate consequences, and identify the most constructive course of action. In both professional and personal contexts, this ability to pause, reflect, and act thoughtfully produces better outcomes, reduces errors, and strengthens strategic thinking. Mastering the art of discretion fosters a sense of inner peace and stability. The constant need to express every thought or defend every idea can be exhausting and mentally draining. By learning when to keep things to oneself, we reduce mental clutter, avoid unnecessary conflict, and create an environment of calm deliberation. Over time, this practice enhances overall well-being, strengthens self-confidence, and contributes to a more intentional and fulfilling life. Silence and discretion become not only tools for communication, but also instruments for living wisely and purposefully, demonstrating that the long-term benefits of restraint extend far beyond immediate interactions into every facet of life.